Hi, my name is Luz Lozano, and this is my responsive classroom library audit project. With this project, I examined 50 books randomly from a class bookshelf of my mentor teacher, Miss Amy Johnson, a preschool teacher for 4 and 5-year-olds at Porter Elementary School. This project allowed me to look closely at the books I randomly selected from the class bookshelf and see how diverse they really were for the students' access and to read. In this project, I chose to talk about a few topics that I found interesting when it came to examining the books closely. The first topic being gender. Looking at the books I had randomly selected, most of the characters consisted of being male human characters. About 22 books had supporting male characters, 24 books contained main male characters, only 18 books had supporting female characters, and 13 books had main female characters. Majority of the books had a combination of main gender roles, but only a few had individual main roles. For example, The Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly was a book that contained a female main role throughout the book. Next was race. In this section, there was a small amount of diverse characters within the books that I had examined. I did notice that the amount of white characters used was common within the children's books. With supporting characters, 21 books contained white characters and 19 books with main characters. Looking at the other races compared to the number of books that used white characters, the number of books was below than expected. There was a fairly good number of books with Latinx characters, but those characters did not have a big enough role like the white characters did. Next was disabilities. Surprisingly, from the 50 books that I had randomly selected from the classroom bookshelf, no books contained characters with any type of disability. Books in the classroom commonly consisted of characters in great shape, being able to walk and function on their own. I was surprised to see this because being able to have books with students with disabilities brings awareness to other students as they read, and it gives those students with disabilities a role in books. It gives them something exciting to read about, and there were no books found. Non-human characters. This was the most common in all the books that I had looked at. The class library had a good portion of books being based off non-human characters, or some had mixture of both non-human and human. About 34 books had gender-supporting characters, 31 books had non-humans as main character, 22 books were race-supporting characters, and 21 books as main characters in the race category. Language. From the 50 books, only 2 books were found to be of a different language inclusion. In the books, both English and Spanish texts are used to translate what the words in Spanish say. One book was too complex for the students to read. It was mainly a book for the teacher to read. It contained long paragraphs in which the students wouldn't be able to comprehend or read. The other book had basic words that the students would understand, especially those students who would speak both English and Spanish. Family structure. There was no different family structure shown in any of the books. The books mainly consisted of families with a mother, father, and siblings, the common family structure you would typically see. I would have liked to see a diverse way of family structure within the books that I had examined. Setting. The settings of the books mainly consisted of areas that are commonly used. About 17 books were set in rural areas, 18 in urban, 10 in suburban, and there were no books set in the desert areas. There were a few books that featured places from around the world, like the book My Aunt Came Back. In the book Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, it was a typical urban city area where buses are usually found and driven. Classroom demographics. In the class, there is a total of 12 students, 6 boys and 9 girls. This is a diverse class consisting of 5 students who speak Spanish, 2 students who are African American, 1 Native, and 4 students who are white. All the students either live in urban, suburban, or rural areas. Conclusion. Most of the books in the classroom I found mainly consist of gender books, both female and male main supporting characters, non-human characters, and diverse races. These are the most common characteristics of books you would typically find within the children's books, mainly because it's what characteristics students see in themselves or others. In the classroom, I was not able to see any book that involved characters with disabilities living in poverty or transgender, lesbian, or gay. There's rarely any of those types of books out for children to read, mainly due to those topics that people don't like to read about or even have children thinking or talking about. I think it's important to allow children to have access to those types of books because they need an open mind when it comes to reading and reading about what's around them. Reading books allows them the need to explore and understand the people around them and their surroundings. Thank you.